On Thursday, a new report was published showing the devastating impact of the pandemic on young American students. Many parents saw it as an indictment of officials who kept schools closed for too long. The study showed a generation of testing gains in some subjects wiped out in the last 2 years, with the worst impact on students already struggling to keep up. So what should have been done differently? And how can kids catch up now? NBC's Jesse Kirsch has our Sunday focus.
This week, fears over COVID's learning curveballs confirmed.
My fourth grader now. I'm trying to give him as much attention as I can.
The nation's report card, the National Assessment of Educational Progress, is considered the gold standard in testing. Its most recent findings, focused on 9-year-olds tested in 2020 and 2022, saw the equivalent of 2 decades of progress erased. The biggest decline in both math and reading in more than 30 years.
These results are sobering.
Dr. Peggy Carr, who oversaw the assessment for the Department of Education, says results showed decline across the board, with disadvantaged students among those hardest hit. Disabled students struggling more than others. And in math, the gap between black and white students grew by 8 points. One researcher estimating that translates to black students being an additional 6 months behind.
Are we looking at a generation that is never going to recover?
Certainly, it's a generation of students that have experienced something that none of us have experienced before. If we don't figure out how to catch these students up, we will have more challenges with preparedness.
In Fairview Park, Ohio, 6th grade English teacher Jeff Hicks sees alarm bells on paper and in person for older kids, too.
They're more awkward. And I don't mean that as a negative, as a judgy, negative thing. They just don't know. Something that I can tell that they're going to have a hard time with already is simply taking a story and rewording it and summarizing it.
The Department of Education says its tests don't identify what's causing the declines, but 70% of kids tested this year have learned remotely for at least part of the pandemic. Some blame remote learning for the lower scores, even if going remote was unavoidable.
Had it not been for the incredible efforts of my kids' teachers and this whole country through the past 2 years, it would have been worse. It would have been worse.
Still, the decline underlines growing gaps in education driven by income inequality. The latest testing found better access to electronics, internet, and teachers all were more abundant among higher performers.
Is there a silver lining to this?
That's how I am choosing to see this. This is a signal of exactly the work we need to do. It commits us to a challenge.
With that challenge in mind, this Cleveland area school district revamped its schedule. 6th graders and older getting every subject every day, with middle schoolers getting double the math. Parent Jessica Eidson is hopeful.
These kids are going to be able to do life probably so much better than we were able to do life. They were taught to think out of the box through all of this. They were taught to go with the flow.
But bottom line, experts say kids need more learning time, putting more pressure on everyone to adapt.
If those numbers don't start going back up, what is at risk for this generation?
Everything. So that's not an option. That's for me. It's not an option. We will close this gap. That's what I'm here, and I'm fully committed to doing it.
And Jesse joins me now live. Jesse, good morning. Teachers like that one performed heroically throughout the pandemic, but this report does add to the outrage of many parents and politicians, school boards, teachers unions for keeping classrooms closed as long as they did. So how do schools begin to dig students out of this pandemic hole?
Willie, good morning. Bottom line, some kids are going to need more time after school and in summer school playing catch up. The White House hopes that schools will tap into more than $100 billion of American Rescue Plan money to support those efforts, which one of our experts stresses should be taken care of at least partially on a local level. Right now, we do not have state-by-state data on this latest testing, but it is expected in the months ahead and could back up the idea that schools staying remote longer saw greater concentrations of learning loss, something, though, that may have been unavoidable in a truly unpredictable situation. Willie?
Jesse, thanks so much for that report. We appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite recipes, celebrity interviews, uplifting stories, shop our favorite deals, and so much more with the Today app. Download it now.